Do you ever experience any of the following? Maybe a sense of overthinking where your mind is basically just going on overdrive. You maybe wake up feeling exhausted and you just couldn't really switch your head off. You just can't stop thinking. Maybe negative thinking is basically just plaguing your mind at the moment. You're always thinking the worst case scenario. Or even just brain fog. Maybe you can't concentrate, you can't focus, or you're just not getting the results that you want in life. Now, we've experienced this in the past before and we know that it sucks, okay?
Big time. This was like a big theme in my life. I had a period where things were not going great. I was not in my best whatsoever. Hit a real kind of dark period, and my quality of thinking played a big part in that. I was overthinking everything, every conversation I had, every decision I had to make, which made me indecisive, which then made me slow down, which made me less efficient, right? And it has this kind of knock-on effect. And the thing is, it kind of just, it did feel like me at the time. It was almost like I was on autopilot, right? And this kind of just kept happening. And it was only when I got to the point where things were really at their worst and I was really struggling just with everyday life. And it was only at that point where I had this wake up call where I was like, no, I really need to get some help here. And that was when I went and I worked with a coach who helped me to really understand what was going on for me and why was I thinking and overthinking all the time. Why was I thinking so negatively as well? It was always like worst case scenario, and usually about myself, right? Not necessarily about the environment or people around me, but I got to the point where I was very self-deprecating and those negative thoughts were really influencing obviously my feelings. But working with this coach, she was able to teach me what was happening. She was able to teach me that actually, do you know what, these thoughts are just thoughts. And as simple as that sounds, like that was actually a massive shift and a game changer, because I wasn't my thoughts. These were just thoughts that are available to me, but there were so many other thoughts that were available to me as well. I just had to start tuning in to which thoughts I wanted to pay attention to, and I had to almost retrain myself as to what thoughts are actually going to help me and are going to serve me as well. And when I decided which ones I'm going to tune into and become aware of what was actually going on in my own awareness of my own thoughts, I was able to take back my power. And as cheesy as that sounds, that's exactly what happened. I was able to take control again. I was able to go, actually, do you know what? That's not me. This is just a thought that's kind of available to me that I'm actually choosing. So when we start to become aware of our quality of our thoughts and have the will to want to change them in a way that can actually serve us and to move us forward in a happier and healthier way, everything can change.
And then I spent years and years literally going through living in a state of brain fog where I'd be so stressed all the time. I'll be working stupid amount of hours because I wouldn't trust anyone around me to do what they're supposed to do. I always kept telling myself that I had to do everything, okay? I couldn't trust anyone, so I had to be there all the time, 16 hours a day, from literally like 5 a.m. in the morning to like 11 p.m. at night. And that obviously is constantly playing in my head, is I have to be there, I have to look over the shoulder, I have to get this done, I have to get that done. And I'd wake up exhausted and my focus and concentration would just be non-existent. So I'd be downing literally, no joke, nine cups of coffee a day.
It's insane.
At least 9 cups. I would fill out those loyalty cards like every couple of days. And that was my kind of go-to try and, spark my nervous system to actually get my brain thinking again. And that would actually lead to more problems and more stress and more pain and more just my overthinking and overwhelm. And it took me a while to realize that this isn't working. I'm not getting the results anyway that I wanted, and the ones I were getting were not what I wanted, should I say. So it took me a while to realize that it was the quality of my thinking that was actually causing this. What was going on up here was causing what was going on down here, and then that was causing this to kind of like project itself out into my work life, my personal life. And I couldn't tie those two in at the time. It took me, the same as Charlotte, is kind of working with a coach and kind of doing some deeper work to realize that what I was actually telling myself was having a completely negative effect on my body, on the people I work with, on the people around me, and the results I was getting. And when I started to realize that, I was like, oh my God, it's like, why was I doing that? Why was I causing myself so much suffering? And all it was just changing the quality of my thinking, the way I thought, and just bringing myself into a more resourceful way of thinking. And that just changed the game for me.
Yeah, and we've got to remember that our thoughts are always the captain of the ship. If the minute we buy into something, that's what we're going to get, right? So we need to make sure that we're the captain of our ship and we're not kind of handing that responsibility over to our thoughts, okay? That's like quick route to game over right there. So guys, as a result of our obviously personal experiences, we've been able to now master our quality of thinking, and that's been through practice, that's been through self-awareness, that's been through seeking help when we've needed it, and it's been from deep study, right? And the fact that we're obviously so passionate about this, we've become certified to be able to help other people with this, of course. And the reason we have done is because we've seen the profound effects that it can have on everything else, right? We can see the profound effect that it has on relationships, on our clients. The first things our clients say to us when they're working with us is that they are suddenly feeling in control and they're feeling like they actually can cope with things, almost like the adult in them has switched back on, because they have been able to tune into their quality of thinking and actually improve it. They repeatedly tell us that they feel better as a result. They feel energized, they feel healthier, they're better at making decisions, they're able to concentrate better. And those are all things that high performers need, not only to be successful in whether it's their own business or in their career, in their profession, in their job, or in their relationships, in their family life as well. It's very, very powerful and very profound, and I think that you're going to really benefit from the tips that we're going to share with you today.
Thank you, guys, because you see, like our self-talk really determines how we feel about ourselves and our ability to actually make healthy decisions. Okay, I'm sure that you can relate. Like if you're experiencing or you're thinking about things in a helpful way, you actually get the results you want. You become aligned, and things just kind of flow and feel easier. But on the flip side of that, when you're not thinking helpful things and you're not thinking in a resourceful way, things become hard. You don't get the results you want, and everything just it becomes a struggle, doesn't it? Okay, and our thoughts lay down the blueprint for what we're going to experience in life. So it's important that we actually improve the quality of our thinking and the resourcefulness of our thinking if we want to actually get what we want.
And that blueprint will determine your life experience. It will determine how you're feeling about the world around you. And the reason it influences how you're feeling about the world around you is because our thoughts come before our emotions, right? A lot of people sometimes think, well, no, they're emotional, that's why they think that way. But that's actually not the order of things, right? Our emotions will help to identify, okay, well, that triggers certain behaviors, but the thinking actually comes before emotions. Now, thinking will affect how we feel, which then affects our behavior, which then affects our results. Okay, so when our thoughts come up before our emotions, that means that we have the power to tune into the thoughts that are actually going to help the behaviors that we want. It's going to help how we feel, change our state, and then we can behave in the way that we want to. That's going to take us where it is we want to go, or experience what we want to experience. Now, we are reacting to our thoughts all of the time. Like John quite rightly said there, is if we are thinking in a really aligned way that's serving us, we feel good, don't we? We feel at peace. We feel like we're in our flow when we're doing something that we're supposed to be doing, right? That's what's happening because we're reacting to our thoughts. So we need to start to understand is that we are doing this all the time. We are reacting to the narrative that is playing in our head, right? We do this all the time. Like when we watch TV or watching a movie, I think we've used this example hundreds of times now, but imagine you're like watching a scary movie and you're buying into it, right? You're absorbing all of these ideas and these thoughts. The storyline becomes your thinking for the time that you're actually watching the movie. And when that happens, lo and behold, you start feeling the fear that they're feeling in the thing. You start jumping at loud noises and you wouldn't normally be, because there's this like dynamic music and there's this storyline going through it. Now, what we must recognize is that our whole life has this storyline going through it, but you're the author, okay? And you're the one that is able to rewrite that script quite literally, okay? And like we said already earlier, that is tuning in to what's actually going to serve you and what's not.
Definitely, and we've got to think that our quality of thinking actually plays a massive part in our health as well.
Yeah.
And this is a big area a lot of people don't actually think of or not even aware of. And there have been many studies, like hundreds of studies, that really show the connection between how we think and our health, whether it becomes poor or good. And we can actually heal ourselves and feel better just through the way we think. Okay, so you actually get faster results when it comes to healing and recovering by the way we think. So if you tell yourself you're a healthy person, that's the instruction your brain's going to give your body, and that's a chemical reaction that your body's going to create to actually help keep you healthy. There have been a lot of studies of, for example, if you take, you get young people so in their teens and 20s, and then following them into the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and what you find is the common theme in society is to believe that as we get older, pain is normal, lack of mobility is normal, we do less, we can't do as much as when we're in our 20s. And that all comes from this. It comes from the way we think and what we're taught to believe. We're taught to think that way. And then lo and behold, what happens when we hit our 30s or our 40s and we start getting these little niggles? And then you just automatically go, oh, it's getting older now. That's old age just kicking in. And then you get to your 50s, 60s and you go, oh, old age, it's like it's got this pain and this problem and this problem. And it's not the old age that's created that. That's your quality of thinking that has created that. Because as you get older, if that's what you're thinking, if you're thinking that I'm going to be less mobile when I'm older, if I'm thinking that I'm going to be able to do less, if I'm thinking I'm going to be in pain when I'm older, that is exactly what is going to happen, because that's what I'm telling myself. So my brain is telling my body that. My body is going to give me exactly what I'm telling it. And then you look at people who do think more resourcefully, who do have a better quality of thinking, and you've got people in their 70s, 80s who are healthier and more mobile than they were in their 20s. Okay, and it's not coincidence. It's just their quality of thinking is different. They believe that old age is just a number, and it has nothing to do with their health. It's the way they look after themselves, the way they look after their mind, which affects the way they look after their body, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Another great example of that as well is if you've ever heard, or you have even yourself thought, okay, well, my mum has this and my dad has that, so I'm going to experience it too. And it, like things like arthritis, things like pain or heart conditions, you're like, well, it runs in the family. Immediately when you buy into that quality of thinking, okay, you start to actually switch on those cells in your system, and it starts to give you that result. Now, obviously, sometimes there are certain genetic expressions inside of our bodies that are going to play a certain role, but you can actually affect that expression now. Okay, that's what the latest science is telling us, is that you can actually start to switch on and off these cells in the most healthy ways for you, should you choose to. Okay, your quality of thinking plays a massive role in that. Your thoughts are so powerful that they can literally help you to prevent disease, specifically like cardiovascular disease has been the biggest one that's been studied the most. We have better psychology, a better physical well-being, like John's already said. We increase our lifespan. Okay, we can decrease obviously the amount of anxiety or depression that we experience. We stop brain fog, like John was saying at the beginning. We help our bodies to feel more energized. We can literally increase our energy by the quality of our thinking, which is a very incredible thing. That was a massive game changer for me. Absolutely huge. We can actually solve problems better and more efficiently when we are taking care of our quality of thinking. You know, the list goes on, guys. Like, you know, you can go on Google and see kind of what the other qualities are. But what I would suggest you really do is practice the things that we're going to be sharing with you, because you can then see it for yourself and feel the effect that it has on you as well, deeply.
Definitely. And the good news is about improving your quality of thinking. It's easier than you think it is.
Much easier.
So much easier. But sometimes people just get sucked into those outdated solutions. Like they start believing that they can stop negative thinking. You can stop thinking in general, but you can't. You can't stop thinking. Okay, we're always thinking. Our thoughts are there every single second of the day, throughout the night, and they're always going to be there. But but we can learn how to manage our thoughts. Okay, we can definitely learn how to manage them, slow them down, and process them in a more helpful way. Okay, so that stopping thinking, not an option. You're going to be thinking. So also positive mental attitude and affirmations. I'm sure a lot of you have heard a lot of this, so it's around on the internet everywhere, is having that positive mental attitude. Okay, having affirmations. I am happy, I am healthy. And these are good, and these do have their place. Okay, but they can be often exhausting, and they usually tend to just work on the surface level a lot of the times. Okay, so it's important, it's kind of, think about it as like putting a band-aid on a bullet wound. Okay, so it might have a very, very short-term effect and might stop a little bit of bleeding, but it's the deeper issues are still there. That quality of thinking is still there. You're not changing that, and you're trying to force yourself to think positively, which is doesn't work in the long term. Okay, we must retrain what the original thoughts were in the first place, and that is how we're going to think in a more resourceful and a way and improve our quality of thinking.
Yeah, definitely. Like looking in the mirror every day with a sticky note on the mirror saying, I am happy, but inside you're dying inside and you feel like the most sad you've ever felt. All you're doing is denying your feelings, okay? And it's about observing them versus absorbing them, okay? So like John said there, it's very surface level, and what we need to do is make sure that you're working on the deepest levels in alignment with what's coming out of your mouth. So again, those affirmations kind of have a place, but in an outdated world where we think that's going to change everything, because it's not. Okay, the latest research, like we've been saying, is showing now that resourceful thinking will actually be the key to lasting change. Okay, and that's what we represent here at Wellness Theory is we work with people to create lasting change in their lives, right? We want people to be able to have that transformation, to be able to shift that this identity that maybe things aren't going their way or they're feeling a bit stuck in life, and they want to shift that, not just for the short term, but forever, right? Like, and that's a big deal when somebody takes that on and they're like, do you know what? No, I'm ready for change. I'm ready to step into the best version of myself because it's good for me and my family, my loved ones, and it's going to give me the most optimal experience of this one life that we've got here. And you get to keep that forever, not just on some quick holiday that you have. The amount of people that still say, must go on holiday, I have to go on holiday, I need to go on holiday to make me feel good. It's like, no. You need to create a life where you don't need to escape on holiday to. Don't get me wrong, we love to travel, it's great to travel, it gives a nice flavour of life, isn't it? But at the same time, we can't become dependent on these external things when our quality of thinking can help you to create a lasting change just through resourceful thinking, because it will change your experience of life incredibly quickly and in a sustainable way.
So here's how to make your quality of thinking more resourceful. Now, before we go through these steps, obviously you can follow through with your wellness journal, the Magic 8 Wellness Journal if you have one, and you can start scoring yourself in your quality of thinking. Obviously, 1 being low, 5 being high as we go through. If you don't, again, don't worry, all the stuff we're going to go through is still going to help you massively when it comes to improving your quality of thinking. So step 1 here is about tuning in. This is very important, is becoming aware it's becoming aware of awareness. So awareness is the key to change. So practice being the observer, okay, like Charlotte's already said. So imagine you're tuning in to your thoughts like you're tuning into a radio. So when that static goes and you've got a nice clear signal, you can really start to tune into exactly what's going on. So imagine your mind is like a busy highway. Okay, if you're overthinking, you've got cars, there's hundreds of cars just going forward and backward, just so many, that's just like your thoughts just going and going, and you're not really sure what you're thinking, what's going on. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to slow those thoughts down. You want to think of your mind as a country road. Okay, so like a nice, slow, quiet country road where maybe 1 or 2 cars passed every hour, and you can literally take note of what you're thinking, what's going through your head, and you can actually take in those thoughts and become more aware of actually what you're thinking. Okay.
So powerful. That really is, like, just tuning in and practicing to slow them down will already have a massive impact on your life. But anyway, we'll carry on with the rest as well. So basically the second one here is for you to become aware now of the specific self-talk. So now you've already tuned in, so you're hearing crystal clear these thoughts that are going on in your mind. So when we now get specific and we listen to that dialogue that's happening, we call that the linguistics. When you become aware of the linguistics of what's happening in your own mind, you then become very aware of what needs to change specifically, right? You become aware of what's actually serving you and what's not. And we become very accustomed to that little voice, right? Like we used the example earlier on is, if you believe that you're going to get old, and you become accustomed to that way of thinking, and everything in your life will prove that right. Getting up out of bed, you might start making funny noises like, whatever. Like when you get up in the morning, because that's what an old person will do, because you're becoming accustomed to that idea. And an idea is that talk, it's that self-talk, it's that dialogue, it's your linguistics. So When you tune into them, you're now able to listen to the specifics of what's happening. And now your job is to identify that existing language and then ask yourself the question, is this serving me? If the answer is yes, you keep on doing what you're doing, okay? If the answer is no, you need to ask yourself specifically, okay, well, what needs to change here, right? If I'm hearing that I'm calling myself names in a derogatory way, or I'm being horrible to myself through this inner dialogue, which is more than possible, okay, and most people experience this on some level, then you get to say, actually, do you know what I'd really like to be experiencing is this. And actually, would I talk to my best friend this way? Would I talk to a small child this way? No way you would not. Okay, so now it's time for you to take ownership and start to question what needs to shift.
Yeah. And step 3 here is to get specific about what you want to be experiencing with your thinking. Okay, not instead of what you don't want.
Yeah.
This is where it becomes important. What do you want to be experiencing? Okay, so for example, saying I want to stop negative thinking is not enough. Okay, it's very superficial. What specific negative thoughts do you want to shift? Okay, so think about, what do I actually want to shift? If we don't do this, then it's like saying that I want to travel, but never actually like setting in a destination of where you want to go, actually booking a ticket. Okay, so you've got to get specific if you want to shift those negative thoughts over.
And this, guys, might be super overwhelming for you at first, okay? Tuning into your thoughts, becoming aware of all this noise in your own head might become a bit overwhelming. So just a few little tips here that are really going to help you is to actually become aware of the dominant thought patterns first, okay? We have thousands and thousands and thousands of thoughts every single day. So we're not asking you to tune in and listen and kind of make a note of all of those. What we want you to do is literally just become aware of the dominant ones, maybe the ones that are reoccurring, the ones that maybe you even find are problematic. Come up with those, listen to those, and make a note of them in a thought journal. Okay, when you do that, again, you've gone already through those steps there of becoming aware and tuning in, which is already fantastic. And from there, what I'd like you to do is actually ask yourself if you would be happy if those thoughts were to actually come into your reality the minute you think them. Just imagine that for a moment. We live in a world where if everybody's thoughts became a reality, they came into fruition in an instant, the minute they were thought, what would that world look like? Right? I'll let you be the judge of that one. But that's essentially the power that our thoughts can have. The only thing is we have a time delay usually of when they come into fruition. Okay, so if you are obviously not happy with what would come into your reality, okay, then it's really important you start to think about what you want instead.
Definitely, guys. So give these a try. Very important. And remember, the key here is to observe and try to improve a little each day. Okay, it's not about being perfect. Okay, it's all about just improving one step at a time. You'll have days where it may feel harder, okay, than others, and that's okay. It's how we grow. It's how we improve. Okay, and journaling on your quality of thinking will take you as little as 10 minutes a day. That's it. That's all you need, 10 minutes a day. And this means you can kind of raise your awareness of your thinking and reap the benefits that we've already discussed.
So for those of you that want to go a bit deeper when it comes to your quality of thinking, and I urge everybody to do this, obviously, at some point, I'm a huge journaling fan, and because it's something that's so powerful and can make a very, very quick change in your life and really improve performance on very quick kind of investment of your time and energy and efforts as well. So the first thing for you to really reflect on here and to journal on is your deepest beliefs. Okay, now our beliefs are nothing more than thoughts that we've had over and over again that we believe, that we buy into, that we think, yep, that's right. It's a generalization that we get to keep. Okay, and sometimes these beliefs work for us, like if I walk out into a busy highway, I might get hit by a car. That's a good belief to have because you're likely to get hurt and endangered. But when we believe things about ourselves that we're not good enough, right? If I walk around all day long thinking I'm not good enough and I really believe that at my core, that's going to affect the way that I feel. It's going to affect all the other thought patterns that spiral from there. Because if I am thinking I'm not good enough, okay, and I genuinely believe that, I will experience that all day long. That will inform my decision making. Let's say somebody asks me to go and do some public speaking and I don't feel like I'm good enough. Do you think I'm going to say yes to that gig? Probably not. Right? Would that help my future and our success? Probably. Would it help me grow as a person? Absolutely. But I've just said no to that because of one of my deepest beliefs. So it's absolutely essential for you to come up with what are those deepest beliefs so that you can now start to check the beliefs and if they're serving you or not. And that's where the deeper work comes in for you to actually let some of those limiting beliefs pass.
Definitely. And the next thing to look at here is about letting go of the negative emotions. Okay, so unlike unwarranted, unresolved negative emotion acts as fuel for our thinking. So just the same way as the actual fuel gives a car power, the same thing, those can give power to what's going on in your head, which is what we don't want. So take some time to let go of any toxic energy you are kind of harboring. It can really clear up your quality of thinking in an instant. And we have done a lot of episodes, a lot of videos on emotions, where dealing with emotion, understanding emotion, becoming aware of emotions. So just check out our blogs and our podcasts if you want to go deeper into that side of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. The third one here, guys, big idea for what you can journal on is the pictures you're creating in your own mind. And what I'd like to encourage you to do here is to picture yourself showing up with the quality of thinking you would like. Okay, this is a game changer, and you can write this out. If you're more of a visual person, you could draw it as well, or just close your eyes and picture it. However you do it is perfect for you, so long as you do it. And the reason being is because we identify with the pictures that we see in our life and in our minds. So if we identify and we see ourselves in our own picture, in our own head, that we are negative thinkers, for example, or I'm an overthinker, or I'm a negative thinker, or I'm this, or I'm that, we will adopt that. Okay, and that's how we will behave. We will show up accordingly. So when you actually have a new picture that you put in your own mind, in your own subconscious, that becomes a new direction for your subconscious to follow. Okay, and that is then almost the instruction manual that you're giving to the deeper part of yourself that it can follow. If it only ever sees this dark picture of negative thinking and your mind is racing all the time, that's what it's going to give you. So let's decide today, from you just listening to us speak about this, is that you're actually going to start picturing and being more forward thinking and creative with how you want to be showing up. Because the second you do that, you give yourself an alternative. And that's where the power lies. That's when you can start to adopt that way of thinking. You can adopt that picture and become that picture for yourself.
Definitely. And here's what we want you to do now that you've listened to us. Okay? Have you listened all the way through? You took all this information in. And we want you to grab your wellness journal. Okay? And we want to start to score yourself on your quality of thinking. 1 being low quality of thinking, 5 being high quality of thinking. Okay? And then we want you to make a note of all the dominant thoughts that kind of pop up, and are they serving you, okay, or not? And then realign your thinking to what will. So if they're not serving you, you know now how to let them go and bring in thoughts that are serving you. So your quality of thinking improves, your awareness improves, and you start actually thinking, feeling, acting in exactly the way that you want.
Absolutely. So give that a go, guys. Reach out to us if you have any questions. Thank you for listening to us once again. I hope it's been helpful for you. And we look forward to seeing you very, very soon.